Are we ready to get started? Well, hello everyone. Thanks for joining in the webinar this afternoon as we kick off the run-up to Light It Up for NDEAM 2024. You know, this is a huge year, the 5th anniversary of the event. And by the way, I'm still getting my head around that one. I know there are a bunch of people going to be on the webinar this afternoon from around the country who've enthusiastically been participating in Light It Up for NDEAM since it went national in 2021. And some of you may be tuning into this kickoff for the first time this year. So please take a sec to introduce yourself in the chat. Say hi to us and let us know where you're tuning in from. By the way, for those of you who don't know me, I'm Dean Askin, the communication strategist for the Ontario Disability Employment Network and the national campaign coordinator of Light It Up for NDEAM. Now, I'll try hard to not talk too fast for the duration of this webinar because, as some of you know, I get very passionate about this event and it kind of comes across when I'm talking about it. And I know that makes things challenging for the interpreters providing the ASL this afternoon. Right now, I'll throw a teaser out there and say there are a couple of exciting new things being added to Light It Up for NDEAM this year, so stay with us until the end, because the best part's saved for last. A couple of housekeeping things first. If you're not speaking, please keep your microphone on mute. The microphone option's at the bottom left of your screen. And if you've got any burning questions right now, or think of them during the presentation, please put them in the chat box at the bottom middle of your screen. And finally, if you're facing any technical issues, please contact Leslie Ellis via the chat or email her at Ellis, that's Lellis, at odinetwork.com. This webinar is being recorded and we'll be posting it on our YouTube channel. So if you have colleagues who couldn't be here this afternoon or this morning, if you're tuning in from out west, let them know they'll be able to watch the recording. There'll be a link to it on the Light It Up for NDEAM 2024 webpage. First off, we wish to acknowledge the land on which we're hosting this event today and where we'll celebrate National Disability Employment Awareness Month in October. For thousands of years, this land has been and continues to be the traditional land and home to many Indigenous people from across Turtle Island, and we're grateful to have the opportunity to celebrate NDEAM on this land. Well, within this hour, we're going to get you revved up and ready to do it again this year. That is, light the nation purple and blue, even more than in 2023. And you know, that's going to be a real milepost to pass because there was record-smashing participation last year. More on that in a minute or two. It's all happening about 120 days from today on Thursday, October 17th. Always the third Thursday of every October during National Disability Employment Awareness Month. As we do every year in this kickoff, I'll take you through the whats, the whys, a brief history, and the hows of Light It Up for NDEAM. We'll finish off with the best part of all that. I did say we've saved the best for last, and then a Q&A. We'll try to get to as many questions in the chat as we can. So let's get things started. Now, whether this 5th annual Light It Up for NDEAM kickoff session's a refresher or a totally new experience for you, here's Light It Up for NDEAM in a nutshell. As you can see from that image collage, it's a nationally coordinated lighting event for one night. Everything from city halls to bridges to famous landmarks, and even an iron ore dump truck lit purple and blue to recognize the contributions that people who have a disability make to businesses and communities across this country, and to raise disability awareness. Now, this always happens the third Thursday of every October. So no, there's no alternate date if you submit a lighting request and you get told the date's already taken. By the way, if you do run into that, get in touch with me and I can give you some guidance. There have been a couple of instances where we've been able to share the date on an illumination schedule. Odin started and leads Light It Up for NDEAM, but this event happens every year through a whole lot of collaboration from coast to coast, right down to the community level. Now, there are lots of lighting events that happen every month of every year in this country, but there really isn't any other event like this one during National Disability Employment Awareness Month in Canada. We believe Light It Up for NDEAM is the only event of its kind in North America during NDEAM. It really is much more than an awareness lighting event. As we bill it, this has become a national movement that ignites continuing conversation. More about that in a minute or two. So let's look at the evolution of this event and the impact of collaboration. As you can see by the timeline, we started Light It Up for NDEAM small in Ontario as part of Odin's 2020 NDEAM campaign. It was the first province-wide event of its kind during NDEAM. And then came 2021, going national through collaboration with the Canadian Association for Supported Employment, Mentorability Canada, and a lot of community-based organizations like the ones you all represent across the country. And then Public Service and Procurement Canada heard about what we were doing and wanted to get involved. So there you see on the 2021 timeline, all that participation in the first year of going national through collaborative effort. And the media coverage. Almost the entire population of Canada that year read or heard about Light It Up for NDEAM online, on television, in print, or on radio. Now get this, the audience reach that year in the public relations campaign for Light It Up for NDEAM was 35 million people. And Canada's population in 2021 was 38 million people. So yes, it grew fast and it spread across the nation. And here's 2022 and 2023. I mean, look at those numbers, record breaking year over year. When we started Light It Up for NDEAM, we never imagined it would become the hugely successful and impactful event it's become, with so much participation across the country, as those numbers clearly show. But there's more to it than all that participation by lighting purple and blue for one Thursday night in October. 2022 was really the year Light It Up for NDEAM evolved from being a one-night awareness lighting event to a national movement. It became the catalyst sparking ongoing conversation about disability inclusion in communities across the country. It became the unifying, overarching flagship event of regional NDEAM campaigns across Canada that people get excited about participating in every year. And in some cases, it's led to regions and communities becoming aware of and recognizing National Disability Employment Awareness Month for the first time. It generates conversation, excitement, and a lot of valuable media exposure. Great case in point happened last year. That bullet point you see that says global media coverage in 2023. Well, within hours of the national news release going out last October 12th, over 100 internet news sites and online publications picked it up and ran it. And here's what happened with a story pitch to Penticton Herald reporter Dan Walton by Cindy Bartram of the Penticton and District Society for Community Living. That's a mouthful. The piece about Light It Up for NDEAM and disability inclusive hiring not only ran in the Herald, it was picked up and syndicated by the Canadian press and appeared in numerous online publications globally. Last year, there was even media pickup about Light It Up for NDEAM in South Asia. I mean, in the India Education Diary, believe it or not. So here's what Light It Up for NDEAM does. This event literally shines purple and blue light on NDEAM and on the contributions people who have a disability make to businesses, communities, society, and the economy. Let's remember here, there are almost 645,000 Canadians who have a disability who can and want to work, but they're not working, often because of barriers to employment. And then there are all the people who have a disability who are working, whether it's remotely, in the office, or in a hybrid environment now. Every day in many businesses, there are employees who have a disability doing their jobs successfully and helping the companies they work for be successful and competitive. But you know what? Research has shown a majority of employees don't disclose a disability that's not a visible one because they're afraid to. So businesses often don't realize just how many of their employees have a disability. In one study last year, businesses reported about 7% of their employees have a disability. Well, you know what? It was actually 25%. So this is one of the reasons why having conversations about disability is important, and Light Up for NDEAM helps to start them. It's become a movement that ignites conversation about disability inclusion in business, in employment, and in our communities. That's how we position it. That's how we bill it, because that's what it does. So why should you get involved? Let's get to the whys. For one thing, it helps raise business and industry awareness about the disability talent pool. And this is huge when there are so many Canadians who have a disability who can and want to work, and so many businesses needing talent. Here's a statistic for you. In 2022, small businesses in this country missed out on, get this, $38 billion in revenue because they were understaffed and had to turn down contracts and sales. And then there's that whole continuing conversation thing I mentioned. And that's really important. There's more being written about disability inclusive hiring, and there's more talk about disability inclusion than ever before these days. But disability inclusion still too often gets left out of the business conversation about diversity, equity, and inclusion. Most of what you read about DEI focuses on gender and ethnicity. Now, what about that last point, raising your profile? Well, if your focus is matching job seekers who have a disability and their skill sets to a business's labor needs, all of this is reason to get involved in Light It Up for NDEAM, whether this is your first or fifth straight year of involvement. Getting involved in Light It Up for NDEAM, engaging with local businesses and your municipality, talking to them about NDEAM and Light It Up for NDEAM, about disability inclusion, and getting them to participate in the event. Well, this all helps community organizations raise their profile. Now, there are actually two sides to this. If you're an employment service provider and you're top of mind with a business when they have a labor need, guess what? They're probably going to call you first. On the business side, getting involved in Light It Up for NDEAM can do a few important things. One, it helps create connections with employment service providers who can help you meet your talent needs. And then there's the fact that having conversations about disability inclusion, well, because they can be awkward at first, it helps you do that. And it helps you, raise your profile in the community. And it's good for your brand reputation when you're a business. So what it comes down to is building relationships, developing new business, matching the right job seeker with the right employment opportunity, finding new talent sources. This all happens more often than not by building relationships. So getting involved with Light It Up for NDEAM and engaging with Odin, with CASE and Mentorability Canada, and out in Saskatchewan with SARC, because they help us a lot by driving Light It Up for NDEAM in Saskatchewan and making it happen in so many communities around the province. And engaging with businesses, with each other, with community leaders and your provincial politicians. Well, this can really help everyone grow relationships with each other. And those relationships are one that can be valuable and rewarding in the long term. But there's one more reason to get involved in this national event, and that is making an impact. Now, I mentioned a few slides ago, Odin started this in 2020. Light It Up for NDEAM is part of our brand. We own the event, we own the word mark. But this event happens, it makes the impact it does with a massive collective effort from coast to coast. That's why we foster collaboration and grassroots community level event participation by our members here in Ontario, by the general public, by you all here today from across the country, by businesses, by governments, by educational institutions, by famous landmark locations, and by other disability sector organizations like CASE and Mentorability Canada and other regional and provincial organizations nationwide. Yes,
Slow down a little bit,
we
please.
collaborate to make Light It Up for NDEAM a success each year. Now, when I say Light It Up for NDEAM makes an impact, here's what I mean. It's an indirect impact on disability employment. Hundreds of locations lit purple and blue in hundreds of communities. Well, you know what? That means there have been hundreds of conversations about disability inclusive hiring, and it's starting those conversations that can lead to employment success for everyone. Light It Up for NDEAM is a common thread that helps us all achieve a collective goal. And because as those involvement numbers from 2021, that year was 300 locations and 113 communities. And in 2022, 440 locations and 120 communities. And especially last year in 2023, almost 700 locations nationwide and almost 150 communities. As those numbers showed, the more the involvement, the greater the impact and success of this event, the more the awareness, the more the employment and business successes. Well, that's all the whys and the whats. On to the wheres for 2024, this 5th anniversary year. 4.5 months still to go before Light It Up for NDEAM. This is how it's looking overall across the country right now. These locations in PEI and Newfoundland and Labrador, they've all participated in Light It Up for NDEAM since 2021. And it's great to have the Halifax Seaport District involved for the 3rd straight year. And those asterisks beside those New Brunswick locations, well, they mean the city of Bathurst and the city of Edmundston are participating for the first time this year. And around Ontario, 22 cities and towns, 32 locations so far. The Canadian Warplane Heritage Museum participated for the first time last year, and it's great to have them involved again in this 100th anniversary year of the Royal Canadian Air Force. And the Peace Bridge between Fort Erie and Buffalo. Well, that was actually locked in 18 months ago in January 2023. We couldn't get the bridge for 2023 because another organization already had last October 19th booked. But when I was on the phone, they slotted us in for this year. And all these locations in London, Ontario, they've been supporting Light It Up for NDEAM since the beginning. So has the city of Mississauga and the town of Oakville. The region of York and Newmarket is participating for the 3rd straight year. And this year, the town of Midland is lighting their town hall for the first time. And I learned just a couple of days ago that Niagara Falls is illuminating again this year. The Special Illumination Board has supported Light It Up for NDEAM from the beginning. And lastly, for Ontario, 3 more asterisks. 3 more Ontario communities and locations participating for the first time this year. One of them, the famous Jumbo the Elephant Monument down in St. Thomas. Now, a little bit of trivia on that one. If you're not familiar with this landmark, it marks the spot where Jumbo was hit and killed by a Northern Trunk freight train in St. Thomas, Ontario on September 15th, 1885. And yes, he was the famous Jumbo the Elephant, who was part of P.T. Barnum's Greatest Show on Earth. And down in Woodstock, the Crafty Corner Tea Room is a new small business that's just recently opened. And by the way, it's a disability inclusive business. And they're the first ever business in Woodstock to participate in Light It Up for NDEAM. This is what it's looking like out west right now in Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and Alberta. Now, if you were following these slides closely, you might have noticed that Canada Life is illuminating all 3 of their headquarters, Toronto, London, and Winnipeg, again this year. In Saskatchewan, the city of Estevan is participating again. They've been involved since 2021. And in Alberta, several first-time locations are lighting purple and blue on October 17th. And last but certainly not least, with 12 cities and towns and 20 locations participating so far, this is how it's shaping up in British Columbia, with several first-time locations this year, including the BC legislature in Victoria and the famous White Rock Pier, which is the longest pier in Canada. Now, we had to apply for the White Rock Pier last October, just after Light It Up for NDEAM 2023. That's because, okay, now I hope I make this as clear and clearer than mud, because you have to apply for the White Rock Pier by October 31st of the year prior to the year you want the pier illuminated for your event. And it's great to have the city of Williams Lake participating again this year. Williams Lake is, of course, the hometown of Rick Hansen, the man in motion, founder of the Rick Hansen Foundation, and one of the top voices in this country on accessibility and disability inclusion. Now, are you starting to get revved up and excited about Light Up for NDEAM 2024? Well, let's rev things up a little bit with a kickoff video for this year.
Hi, I don't know if you can hear me, but I don't think there's any audio coming through for anybody.
Yeah, thank you for confirming. I was just going to say, was it just me?
Yeah, give us 1 second. Okay, everybody, sorry. We're just gonna start the video over in a second with some audio. Dean just has to change his audio settings.
What are you doing this October 17th? Be part of the 5th anniversary of Light It Up for NDEAM and shine a light on disability inclusive employment. Be part of this coast to coast collaboration that lights up the nation purple and blue for one night, the 3rd Thursday of every October during National Disability Employment Awareness Month. At hundreds of locations, from small businesses, corporate towers, and famous landmarks in hundreds of big cities, small towns, and rural communities across Canada. Be part of something that's much more than a one-night lighting event. Be part of this movement that sparks continuing conversation about disability inclusion in business, in employment, and in our communities. There's no other event like this one during NDEAM. It started in Ontario 5 years ago. It grew fast and it spread across the nation. So join the movement, join in the excitement. Light it up for NDEAM. It's brought to you by the Ontario Disability Employment Network. It happens through collaboration with the Canadian Association for Supported Employment, Mentorability Canada, Jobsability Canada, provincial governments, federal government, and regional and local community organizations across the country. So join in, light up your business and your community purple and blue on October 17th. Find out how you can get involved now and how you can get others involved now. Visit odinetwork.com. Download the Light It Up for NDEAM PR kit. Use it to spread the word and to start disability inclusion conversations in your business and your community. The more the involvement, the greater the impact of Light It Up for NDEAM. Let's make year 5 a Light It Up for NDEAM year to remember. Let's advance the disability inclusion conversation. Let's shine more nationwide light on disability inclusive employment than ever before. Well, I apologize for the audio on that. I had no clue that I was going to be the only one hearing that because I'm using a headset mic. So I don't know about you all, but I get charged up every time I watch that video And yes, that was my voice in the voiceover. Now that video we just watched, that's included in the Light It Up for NDEAM PR kit. You can download it, watch it again, and share it. You can also watch and share it on our YouTube channel. That video is the motivator, but how do you actually participate in Light It Up for NDEAM? How do we collectively make Light It Up for NDEAM happen in as many communities as possible again this October, so we can collectively surpass that 700 location milepost from 2023? Well, it's easy. Get your adrenaline and excitement going and get out there and engage with businesses, your Chamber of Commerce or BIA, and your municipalities. This is the root of it. You participate in Light It Up for NDEAM by submitting lighting requests. We've got resources to help make it easy for you to do that. I'll get to the Light It Up for NDEAM PR kit in a minute. Of course, one of the aspects of participating is let us know you're participating, please, and what locations you've secured to light up purple and blue. Last year, some people let us know about participating locations after the event. Well, we need to know this information before the event for two reasons: to keep the list of participating cities and illuminated locations updated regularly, and especially for the media outreach and PR campaign that starts a week before Light It Up for NDEAM. You see, the list of locations is part of the national news release, so we need to have it up to date as possible. Another part of getting involved, promoting the event on your social media. You could start doing that anytime now, but especially make sure you've started by September, those last few weeks before the event. We'll have some social media template posts you can use. More on this in a minute or two. Another thing you'll want to do is get your member of provincial parliament or member of the Legislative Assembly interested in being part of Light It Up for NDEAM. And no worries, we've got a template email to help you do that too. And of course, get out there on October 17th to see some of the places in your community that are lit purple and blue. That October weather can be changeable, so just dress for the weather and have fun making the rounds and taking photos of illuminated locations, of course. Speaking of that, take lots of photos and post them on X, Facebook, and LinkedIn. There's a tip sheet in the PR kit with 7 tips for taking great nighttime photos with your smartphone camera. We created that last year. Make sure you use the event hashtags when you post your photos, because that's how we collect and curate all the photos of the event from across Canada. And on October 17th, make sure you wear purple and blue. There's Light It Up for NDEAM artwork you can have printed on hoodies or sweatshirts or whatever. Now, here's where you'll find all the information about Light It Up for NDEAM and all the resources to help you participate. This year, we've made the page easier to navigate with some in-page anchor quick links. So if you want to get right to it and start using the resources in the PR kit, one of those quick links takes you right to it. So let's have a look at the PR kit. From the outset of this event going national in 2021, we wanted to make it easy for people to participate. So that's why we created the Light It Up for NDEAM PR kit. And we've had some really positive feedback about the kit over the last 4 years. We've reorganized it this year to make navigating the resources even easier. As you can see on the screen, we've divided it into sections. Some of the resources have been updated for 2024. Others, such as the trademark usage guide and the Light It Up for NDEAM wordmark, well, they're of course what's called evergreen. Here's the key resource circled in red, the root of everything to make Light It Up for NDEAM happen in your community: email templates for submitting lighting requests. And it's the resource you need to start using right away. Now, this template's been updated again for 2024. All 4 templates point out that this is a big year, the 5th anniversary of Light It Up for NDEAM, and it would be great to have whatever location it is participating. Now, let's talk about template number 1 for a minute. That's an email format for first-time requests if you're participating for the first time. This one's for situations where you need to explain in a bit of detail what Light It Up for NDEAM is and what it's all about. Then there's a template you can use if you participated last year or another previous year and you're making a repeat request to businesses and locations that have taken part before. And then there's a form, an online, sort of an online form template. It's basic information you need for filling in an online form. There are some instances where you have to submit a form online, or you have to fill out an interactive PDF for submitting special lighting requests. And then lastly, there's a bit of a more informal template. You can use that one if you're making an annual repeat request to people with whom you've developed a relationship and they're familiar with you and with Light It Up for NDEAM. Now, this is the other key resource to start using right away, the two-pager, as we call it. It's under promotional materials in the PR kit. You can circulate the PDF to your contacts, colleagues, and your network. This was created in 2021 when we took Light It Up for NDEAM National, and it's updated every year. Here's your user guide. That's where you'll find it in the PR kit under user guides. The Light It Up for NDEAM backgrounder has been updated for 2024. It outlines the history and scope of the event, and probably the most important part, it includes timeframes of what to be doing when between now and October 17th to help make this 5th anniversary Light It Up for NDEAM the most impactful event yet. Now, if you're not sure about some things, a 5-page FAQ covers essential questions and answers, including how to submit lighting requests if you've never done it before. And if you prefer HTML to PDF, there's also an FAQs webpage, and there's one of those quick links to it. We've added something new this year. Postcards you can have quick printed and distribute around town to local businesses. Some of you may have seen these at the CASE conference. There are multiple versions of this, highlighting a location that's participated in individual provinces and territories, plus a generic version with an image collage. And as you can see, these are ready to print PDFs with printer's marks for commercial printing. You know, all you have to do is choose the version you want and send the PDF file to the printer. And there's the generic version, and then there's a special Quebec version with French on it if you need to use that one. Now, this is the other cool thing in the Light It Up for NDEAM PR kit every year that I mentioned a few minutes ago. Now, if you participated before, you may recognize this artwork, and maybe you've already got a sweatshirt or a hoodie imprinted with this evergreen version of this graphic. But you may want this one this year. We've specially updated the artwork for a 5th anniversary event edition. Downloadable artwork you can have printed on sweatshirts or hoodies or t-shirts or whatever, so you and your team can wear purple and blue on October 17th. Make sure to take selfies in your purple and blue and post them on social media using the event hashtags. I'll get to that in a minute. Now, to help you take some great photos of illuminated buildings and other structures with your smartphone camera, or even a DSLR or mirrorless camera if you're a serious photographer, this was added to the kit in 2023, and it's another one of those evergreen resources. As I said, we'll be curating photos from social media the night of October 17th, and every year we look for the best location photos to add to the Light It Up for NDEAM photo gallery and highlight in Light It Up for NDEAM videos. The social media campaign for Light It Up for NDEAM, well, it really kicks off at the start of September. So some refreshed templated posts will be added to the Light It Up for NDEAM PR kit at the end of August. You can use the post as provided, or you can customize them. This is a series of posts you can use in rotation over the final weeks leading up to Light It Up for NDEAM and the day of the event. Now, if you're writing your own posts and already starting to talk about Light It Up for NDEAM, use the special 5th anniversary social media brand image you see on the screen that's available now in the PR kit. The social image is in the PR kit every year, so you may have the image from a previous year on file if you've participated. Well, please don't use that one this year. This new image you see on the screen is specially created to highlight the 5th anniversary of Light It Up for NDEAM, and it also has the new Mentorability Canada logo on it. Now, of course, it wouldn't be a social media campaign without the hashtags. So here they are, always the same every year. They're part of the Light It Up for NDEAM brand. And the last two PR kit resources, the trademarked purple and blue word mark in English and French, of course. The word marks in the kit are PNG files. Now, the other resource, a companion guide to those PNG images to help you create your own promotional materials if you choose to, while following the guidelines for using the Light It Up for NDEAM word mark in both text only and in designed materials. Give the guide a read. It's under user guides in the PR kit. There's also a question and answer about the word mark in the FAQ document that's in the PR kit. The main thing you need to know is Odin owns the word mark, Light It Up for NDEAM and Light It Up for DEAM, but you have permission to use it. And now the best for last. To mark this 5th anniversary of Light It Up for NDEAM, I'm really excited to tell you about the launch of the Light It Up for NDEAM Ambassadors League. Now, I mentioned at the start of this webinar that Light It Up for NDEAM happens and makes the impact it does because of all the excited, enthusiastic, collective effort right down to the community level across the country. The ambassadors in this new league are people representing all regions of Canada who are really passionate about being involved in Light It Up for NDEAM and getting others involved in it because of what the event represents and the impact it can have on disability inclusion conversation and action. So if you've got questions and are looking for some mentoring and guidance about how to get involved in Light It Up for NDEAM or how to get your local community involved, get in touch with one of the Light It Up for NDEAM ambassadors in your region. If you'd like someone to talk about Light It Up for NDEAM at a virtual event or meeting, or maybe in person if it turns out one of these ambassadors is in or near your local area, get in touch with an ambassador in your region. These ambassadors are Light It Up for NDEAM liaisons in their communities, regions, and provinces. Our goal with this new Ambassadors League is to foster, nurture, and grow the impact, enthusiasm, passion, and collaboration that makes Light It Up for NDEAM unique. And so, without further ado, here are the inaugural ambassadors. In Western Canada, Tammy Logan from the Inclusion Langley Society in Langley, BC. Lisa Malawani from SARC in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, and Ashley Omachinsky from Supported Employment Options in Beausejour, Manitoba. Here in Central Canada, Leela Thomas from Walpole Island First Nation in Southwestern Ontario, and Dan Lachance up in Northern Ontario at Community Living North Bay, and myself, the National Campaign Coordinator. And down in Atlantic Canada, Leslie Dunn in Nova Scotia, and Courtney Abbott and Wanda Butler in Newfoundland and Labrador. So visit the Light It Up for NDEAM Ambassadors League webpage. That's where you can learn more about the league and these ambassadors and get in touch with them. I'll just finish up by letting you know the Light It Up for NDEAM 2024 webpage and the PR kit resources are live. Well, that's a wrap for me for the last few minutes. Stay with us for some Q&A. We'll try to get through as many questions as we can. Now, if we don't get to your question or you have questions afterwards, or if you need help or guidance, get in touch. Send an email to the address on your screen, lightitup@odinnetwork.com. Those messages come to me and I'll get back to you promptly. And don't forget, you can also get in touch with one of the new regional Light It Up for NDEAM ambassadors. Thanks so much, everyone, for taking the time and joining us today for this 2024 5th anniversary year kickoff. And if anybody does have any questions, if there are questions in the chat, please feel free to fire away.
I've got one that I feel like somebody probably already answered, but I don't know the answer. Where is the PR kit?
It's on the Light It Up for NDEAM 2024 web page. It's down the page, but you can use the quick link that's right at the top of the page. There's an anchor link. Just click on the anchor link at the top of the page, and it'll take you right down to the PR kit.
Okay, thank you.
You might have answered this already when you first started, but will this slide and recording will be sent to everybody?
It's going to be posted on the Lighted Up for NDEAM 2024 webpage.
Okay,
As soon as we get it uploaded, I'll be updating the webpage with the link to the video.
excellent. Thank you.
Wow, I must have covered everything because nobody's asking any questions. I was always taught when you're doing interviews or doing anything, the last question you always ask, is there anything we haven't covered that you think is important to mention? Does anybody have anything they think is important to mention or ask?
Hi, Dean. It's Lisa from NDMS. This is all well and good, but we'll have to get it translated. Unfortunately, the postcards that were provided to us at Case Conference did not have a Nuktitut, so my ED said we cannot use them.
Right.
So is there the postcards that you distributed, can we have like a format for translation? How would that work for distribution?
I can, because you need it translated into multiple languages, don't you?
Yep, so we need it. It has to have a Nuktitut and Inuktitut for us to be able to share it externally.
Yeah. You know, if you've got a designer who works with InDesign, I could actually, you know, provide you the InDesign file, and then they can work right in that, because we want to keep the postcard formats, you know, pretty much the same. But if that would work for you, I mean, we can take it offline and you can give me a call later and we can figure out the best way for you to get it done.
Okay, I'll be in touch. Let me just
Oh.
figure out what we can do on our end.
Okay.
Will there be a New Brunswick postcard available? I looked online and noticed there wasn't one.
Yeah, that was one of the things we just there's been a lack of participation down in New Brunswick, and unfortunately, you know, we created postcards using the best images we had, and we just haven't got a really good location or a major location down in New Brunswick now until this year, you know, to have done a postcard. That's why we did the generic one to cover provinces where we just didn't have participation or an image to highlight a location that's been illuminated.
I think there must be some sort of because I'm not new to New Brunswick. I'm new to NDEAM and Lighted Up for NDEAM and new with mentorability. But I spoke with a group of people in the supported employment field here in New Brunswick, and they told me they had about 50 organizations lit up last year in New Brunswick for.
Yeah, they were mostly they were small businesses, but when you're
Yeah, okay, but you
yeah,
know about it because
yeah,
I was talking to them yesterday and
you're
they didn't know about this webinar, and I was like, how? Anyway, that's fine.
so
Perfect.
you're talking about all the businesses down in Eastern Charlotte County.
Yes.
Yes, yeah, yeah. We unfortunately.
So what do you need? Because I'm on the trail this year for NDEAM, and
Well,
it's my mandate to go get people lighting up. So I was gonna go down to I'm in St. John, New Brunswick, so I was gonna go down to like City Hall and start there. But what would be like a big
if you can, you know, if City Hall has St. John City Hall has the capacity, you know, to do special color illumination, it would be fantastic to have St. John City Hall lit up this year. And, you know, if there's any, I haven't been in St. John for quite a while, but I know there's some major companies down there, but, you know, any like significant structure that's, or, you know,
I was gonna ask,
around
yeah,
St.
you want
John.
like a physical, like if I could get like the 3 tallest skyscraper is a big word for St. John, but the tallest buildings uptown to light up purple in the evening, that would be what I should focus on.
That would be great. I mean,
Okay, not making any promises. I'll start there.
talk to everyone you can about
Yeah.
participating. But you know, if there are some major corporations with headquarters, you know, their offices in St. John that have the capability to illuminate, that would be fantastic, because we've never had any participation in illumination in St. John. So if that can happen this year, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I'm here, so I'm gonna do my best.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
We're here in Eastern Charlotte.
Like 50 businesses last year. We're hoping
Okay, you
to-
guys are here. Great.
we're here.
It's nice to meet you people face to face from Eastern Charlotte County.
Thank you. Yeah, we're hoping to spread the word this year and light up even more. We had 15 the first year and 50 last year. So we're gonna go for 200 this year.
Wow. So you're gonna give Ontario, Saskatchewan, and BC a run for their money. It's great to have you on the webinar, and I really appreciate your participation down in that rural area of New Brunswick.
Thank you.
Any other questions or well, I guess I've done my job. So thank you everybody so much for joining in from all over the country today, and for the folks out west, I know it's still morning out there, so thank you for taking time out of your morning out there for coming on and being part of this webinar. And as I said, if you think of anything after we go offline, just send me an email, or you can give me a call, and I'm happy to answer any questions and give you some guidance.
Thank you.
Have a good afternoon, everyone.